So we are going to plot some zones here. Okay, so we'll be looking for price to finally break this high, a break, a retest, and a push continuations to our next level, which is a 5351 to the upsides. Okay, or if you wish to go more conservative, you can go to your minutes time frame. Hey peeps, AdmiralFest right here. Welcome back to our weekly market focus, and this is our usual weekly market focus for the week of the 2nd to the 6th of March. Once again, happy new month, guys. And yeah, so we know you come on here, we all come on here week in, week out to project 500 to 1,000 pips into the future. The weekend was a very interesting one for us, and we saw a lot of fundamentals or happenings around the world with the with the Iran and the US-Israel war that is ongoing, and a lot of happenings between we should be expecting some volatility in the coming week. Okay, we should be expecting a lot of volatility in the coming week. So this is the best time you have to fund our account and make sure you're taking advantage of these financial decisions that are happening around the world, because you'll be expecting some bullishness on a lot of pays. Okay, some high impact news would be happening around the pays and a lot of volatility. So we as traders, this is our opportunities to make a lot of money from these happenings. Okay, so moving forward, we are starting up with gold. Okay, so for gold, for XAUSD, for last week, just like we projected, just like you guys can see, we anticipated price to coming back to the levels of the 5101 ounce. Okay, which was, we can see how price came into that area nicely there and started being bullish. So later on, we were able to take some nice trade calls. I think right about Thursday, we took these buys from here, and price just had to do its thing. Price took us out because our stops were somewhere below this area, took us out before we had that final bullishness in which we had thereafter. And like I told you guys, any trades, it just feels bad that we were being taken out of this trade, because any trade that we were able to take at this point in time, due to the key levels or areas of interest in which we are taking these trade calls from, these trades will most likely last for the longest. Okay, so we'll be making, these are the opportunities that we can use to manifest or make the 1,000 pips, 5,000 pips from a single trade call. Okay, so I most likely, any trade I would have been able to take in here, like the one that we took here, would have most likely held it all the way to this upside. So while bear in mind taking your profit as your 1:2 or your 1:3 and holding partials all the way to 5564 ounce to the upside. Okay, which is still our overall target. So it's quite unfortunate price took us out here, because this would have been one of the best trades that I would have taken. We would have had a better position, but be it as it may, we know that price most likely, due to what is happening around the world now, like I said, the Israel United States war that is ongoing, this would definitely affect the price of the US oil, the price of gold, and also the US dollar itself. So what do we see happens in the times of war? When we see wars like this, we see people move their financial assets to safe havens, which is gold. Okay, so right now price is on gold, so we should be seeing price open with a very huge gap. We'll be seeing price open with a very huge gap on gold on market open, and we'll be expecting more bullishness on the upsides. I just hope we have little pullbacks and we'll be able to take advantage or enter the train if we have pullbacks. Okay, so let's look at the weekly time frame, how price closed for last week. It's always important to look at the previous week, how price closed. We can see we have still been we have been bullish since the month of February, or since the year started, except I think only January was a little bit bearishness, but since February till date we have been super bullish on gold. So let's go to our weekly time frame. Nothing much, not so much information on the weekly time frame. We are just seeing price doing its thing, coming back and giving us a nice higher highs and higher lows, price going up to the upside. So let's go to the 4-hour time frames to look for the minor levels in which we can mark out, and hopefully we can take our trade calls from these zones. Okay, so I'm going to I'm going to mark out a zones like this. I'll make it as wide as possible, okay, because this is a very technical zones. So all what we need to see is for price to give us pullbacks, okay, into the zones of between the 2541 and the zones between the 5241 and 5200. Okay, so we're expecting price to pull back into the zones, then we can take our bullish continuations to the upside. So first level target, you can look left to look for a first level target. All right, I think I'm going to take this out. All right, I'm going to take that out. Let's place a new line there. So your first level target could be your 5332, okay, 5332 ounce, and your second level target, which is the next resistance right about there, is 5433, okay, to the upside. So overall we are looking at gold going to 55 back to the resistance levels, which is 100% retracement level, which is 5564.489, and overall we should be expecting gold to head to 6,000 ounce on gold before the end of the year. So that's our projections for gold, and up next is the DXY. So for the DXY for last week, DXY was somewhere, if you can remember last week, let me keep it this way so that you guys can see. Last week, just like we anticipated, DXY was the thumbnail in which we used for last week's thumbnail for the DXY, or last week weekly markets analysis, in which we did. We have been having these sell zones for the past 2 to 3 weeks now. We have been expecting price to bounce off this area. Remember, just like I told you guys, this area, these zones in which price has been having multiple rejections, in matches with here, and even 50 moving average, which is coming all the way from the upside. So, okay, so this is a very good sell zones. Like I said, I've been keeping that sell zones there for the past 3 weeks, and price has been giving us some range in between these zones, and we have been ranging for the longest. Okay, so this is a very nice zone, and this is the same thing I sent out to you guys. So if this zone holds, which it looks like it's going to hold, added with the fundamentals that we are seeing, we'll most likely be having a weaker dollar for the coming week. Why is this so? The fundamentals of the war, people will be moving their assets from the US dollar to safe havens like gold, silver, and even oil. Okay, remember the Straits of Hamas has been closed down, which like 30 to 50% of the world oil has to pass through the Straits of Hamas. Okay, so this will also skyrocket the price of the US oil and making the US dollar weaken. Okay, so the pace that you should be looking out for to trade in this coming weeks is US oil, gold, and maybe every other pair that has the US dollar in it. Okay, these pairs are going to do numbers, are going to give us just 500 to 1,000 pips easily than trading any other pair. And also remember, we'll be having NFP at the end of the week. So this is a great week that you must fund that trading account and take trading advantage, and also take signals from us, free signals, which I'm still dropping on the general community, which are still giving out free signals on our general community. So if you are not on a free Telegram community, click on the first comment on the comment section. You see the link to our general community. You can join so that you can also take part of our free signals in which we'll be sending. So moving forward for the DXY, all right, let's go to our weekly time frame. Let's see how last week actually closed. It's very important to see how the weekly, or let's start from the monthly time frame first. Okay, so we can see last month, all right, because this is a new month. Last month closed with this doji candle, with that indecision candle. Nothing much. Price still looks kind of bearish here on the monthly time frame. For the meantime, let's go to the weekly time frame. Looking at last week, how price closed for last week, we can see price closed with this indecision candle. So this is actually a cause for concern, guys. Okay, this is actually a cause for concern. When we head over to our lower time frames, you see reasons why I'm saying so. Okay, so price price is still dangling around this range, around here. Okay, so nothing much on the weekly time frame except this candle closure in which we had price closing last week. So let's go to our daily time frame. All right, I take so much time to analyzing the DXY to making sure that we get it right, because if you have this right on the DXY, we are also deciphering over 8 different pace directional bias. Okay, so here on the daily time frame, everything still remains same. Price is still clearly very much bearish until we can see price break the 97 area or the 97017 area. Okay, so we are still very much bearish on the look of things, on price. So let's head over to the 4-hour time frames. Okay, nothing much. There's so much noise on the 4-hour time frame, so we'll keep it at the daily time frame to have a more cleaner chart that makes sense. So this still remains, like I said, I told you guys, I sent this since last week. Okay, so if you had taken opportunity of this is what still remains. We are still looking for price. All right, we have now had price gone into the 971.534. then we'll be seeing price hit to our next level targets, which is the 96.224, and all the way to the next levels, which is a 100% retracement level, which is the 953.54 to the downside. Okay, so we are still very much clearly bearish on the DXY, and do well to mark this on your trading device or whatever you're using to trade. Up next is Euro. So for Euro USD for last week, nothing much. Same thing that happened on the DXY. Price has been ranging on a particular zones in which we are looking forward for price to head to the zones. So remember, I told you guys, I showed you guys one of the tricks in which I used to trade in a ranging market, which is clearly what we have. Which is clearly what we have here. We can see that price has been ranging since 2025, since June 2025. Price has been on a sideways movement here. So in this case, I have to employ my range strategy to it, which is price breaking out of either to the upsides or breaking out to the downside. So what do? We measure the height of our range, which is what we have in this blue line. Okay, we measure the height of our range and we place it outside. Okay, you can see the height of that range. I will place it outside of the range. Then, so what does this mean? If the breakout happens, which we clearly have that breakout right about now, break, retest, we'll be having price move these same numbers of pips to the upsides. Let's check how many pips that would be. All right, let's check how many pips that would be. So that's about 300 pips plus. Okay, 300 pips plus movement to the upsides on the weekly time frame. Okay, so this is not a kind of trade that you should be missing. And also, if you look deeply into it, you also see similar thing happen on Euro USD. Okay, same thing that happened on DXY is happening here on Euro USD. We can see how price is closing with this indecision candle right about there. So, and this is also an area of interest. Okay, our major area of interest, which is a daily area of interest, which also matches with this multiple week rejections that we are having here. So this is a very nice zones that we can take trade calls from, and if you are able to take any trade call from this area, you should be holding it for the longest of time. You should be making nothing minimum than 200 to 300 pips, and even over 1,000 pips. So I'll shift this to the other side. Okay, so here on the daily time frame, nothing much. Price has already given us that bounce off this other minor level, so we are seeing price most likely heading all the way to the upside. So for me, this is a very good trade. Okay, this is a very good trade. All what I need to do is maybe most likely put my buys there when market opens, put my buys there, put my stop loss somewhere below here. This is still a good stop loss below 50 pips. Okay, this is about 40, right, about 30, okay, not up to 40 pips, about 37 pips of stops, and you target your 1:2, 1:3 first level. This is the first 100% retracement level. This is the second one, which is a nice 1:4 right about there, and we'll be heading all the way to the upsides, which is a nice 1:6. Okay, so let's see how many pips that could be for price movement all the way. So that's about 264 pips to the upside. So this is already a very nice trade call for us, and you can also screenshot this or mark same on your trading device. Okay, so that's it for Euro USD. Up next is GBP USD. So for GBP USD, nothing much, just like Euro USD. We can see price is also same range is happening there. Price is not giving us so much momentum. Price is also seated on a very strong area of interest. So all what we need to see, I think in this case we have to go to our 4-hour time frame, okay, for the case of the GBP USD. So we can see price has been ranging here. So we have a minor level here, which is this yellow bar, and this major level, which is this green bar. Okay, so this is how I would wish to approach price. Price should break out of this minor level, create a new higher high, a retest there, then we can snipe the buys on GBP USD to the upsides from here. Okay, so this looks like a very nice trade, but we should be a little bit patient for price to break market structure wise, for price to break this first high with this and push continuations to the upsides. Okay, we could also have another break and retest. Okay, if this happens, break, retest, push continuations to the upsides. Looking left, we can see this high and this other high for a more conservative trade entry. You can also add more positions when price breaks these two highs. Okay, another retest and another continuations to the upside. So these are the approach in which I use to send in trade calls for you guys, and let's see how many pips that could be between here and here for us. Okay, like I said, we're making a lot of money this week, so let's almost 400 pips of bullishness we should be expecting moving forward for GBP USD. So we can see 400 pips to our advantage, and this is our entry confirmations. Okay, so that's it for GBP USD. Up next is USDJPY. Side of things, okay, for the bullish side of things, price could come either to these phase zones and price would move to the upsides of the next level, which is our next target, which is the 1157 to the upside. So for USDJPY for last week, USDJPY was one of the best trades we also took for last week. We just sniped the trade and we went in directly into profit and we smashed the profit. It was a nice 1:3 for us, and a lot of money was also being made. Trade was also sent on the free Telegram community, which a lot of people also took advantage of it. Okay, so we can see this was the zones in which we're looking forward for price to bounce off these zones and a bullish continuations to the upsides, which that clearly happened. I think USDJPY was the only bullish pay that gave us a clean bullish movement to the upsides for last week, and so yeah, that was a nice trade for us. So let's go to the weekly time frame to see how price actually closed and our next trading decision. So we can see how price actually closed here with a bullish engulfing candle. Price is also reacting off this area. Does this look like, this kind of looks like a divergence? Let me bring out my RSI to be sure if that's actually a divergence. It looks like a divergence. Okay, but so we go to the daily time frame, okay, to see how price is actually moving. So here on the daily time frame, I think I have to take this out. Okay, here on the daily time frame, price is currently seated on this area of interest, this daily area of interest. Price is currently seated there. So I'm going to most likely give you guys a two-way scenario that price could bounce here and continue bullish. Okay, and when price could bounce here, price could bounce. All right, looking left, you can see this is an area of interest. Price could bounce the 155 area and continue to the upside. Okay, but I don't really see that happening. Okay, since the DXY, since USDJPY is directly correlated to the DXY. So let's go to the minutes to the hourly time frame. Okay, so what I would love to see, this already looks like a nice chart pattern. Let me reduce this so that you guys can see. This already looks like a nice chart pattern, guys. Okay, so for those of you that are my mentees, we speak so much about chart pattern. Okay, but though it's not yet confirmed because this is the neckline which is yet to be broken. So this looks like a nice chart pattern. So what do we want to see happen? For the bearish side of things, we should be patient for price to clear these lows, which is the support or the neckline of that head and shoulder, a retest on that zones again, then we target our first level, which is the 1.54, and we can go all the way to the downsides, which is our next level of the 153.108 to the downsides. Okay, so this is actually the bullish and bearish scenarios of USDJPY. Do well to mark it on your phones or your trading device. The last but not the least, USD card. So for USD card, let's go over to the weekly time frame. Let's see how the weekly time frame. USD card has been nicely bearish for the longest, so nothing much. Okay, nothing much, still showing bearish momentum on USD card. Let's go to our daily time frame to see what price is doing. Okay, so here on the daily time frame, we can now have cleaner price action, cleaner market structure of us seeing price giving us series of lows, highs, lows, highs, lows. So we'll be expecting price to continue on a bearish momentum. All right, so if I wish to also use my moving my trend line like so, you could also see that we almost have a nice touch on this trend line, but moreover we also have a 50 moving average, which still saves like the trend line, which I don't like using trend lines. Okay, that 50 moving average also saves like a trend line, and seeing price bouncing off that 50 moving average again, and this also matches with our areas of interest. Price is giving us something like a tug of war on that area, so this is a very nice sign for us. Okay, this is a very nice sign for us, or price is ready to move. So what I have to do in this case, I'm going to mark maybe a new zone. All right, I'll use the rectangle tool. I'll mark a new zones like so. All right, this is a better zone. So we already have this bearishness here, so how can we enter? Okay, so for me, you can still sell from here. All right, put your stop somewhere around these levels, and you target your first level targets 100% retracement level, which is a nice 1:2, or you can go all the way, which I prefer all the way, which is a 1:3 to the downsides. And for a more conservative entry, we can have the similarity of what I showed you guys on USDJPY. This also looks clean, like a clean head and shoulder, which is a chart pattern that also matches with our area of interest or our resistance, our daily time frame or weekly time frame resistance. So we can see, so all what we need to do in this case is to mark this neckline like so. So what we need to see is easy busy, a break, a retest, a proper retest on this area of interest, then you can sweep it all the way to the downsides. Okay, so when this retest happens, then you can now take your sales, put your stops on the new high that will be created or somewhere here, and target your next level. Nice 1:2, and you can go 100% retracement level, which is a nice 1:4. All right, so this is what we are looking forward for price to give us on USD CAD. So that if you watch this video to this very moment, please do well to smash that subscribe button, drop some fire emoji on the comment section if you feel what we are doing, and let's know what you're expecting for price to doing, and how well you'll be taking advantage of the fundamentals that are happening on the coming weeks. Okay, so always remember to plan your trades and trade your plan. See you guys in the inner circle. Cheers.